Hey everybody, welcome to the look at the kitty. She's so cute. Okay, there. I'm trying to add production value to my videos lately. Come for the kitties, stay for the good information. Welcome to StudentLoanJustice.org. We are the oldest, largest, first, and only true grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. We've been around for 18 years now, 18 very long years, and we're fighting for two things. Number one, most importantly, it is the thing upon which everything else depends. We're fighting for the return of standard bankruptcy rights to student loans. Founding Fathers called for uniform bankruptcy laws, aka rights in the Constitution, that's been removed uniquely from student loans, and all the nonsense that you're facing right now with your own student loans are at the root of it because this constitutionally enshrined right was stripped from student loans. Second thing we're fighting for and fighting hard for is actual, not pretend, actual student loan cancellation. So it was our group that started the petition on change.org in March 2020, calling on then President Trump to cancel student loans by executive order. That was before anybody else was talking about canceling student loans by executive order. And actually, even 6 months before that, we did the first interview ever to ask the question of whether the president could cancel all federally owned student loans by executive order. And despite the Supreme Court nonsense that we just saw, yeah, the president can cancel student loans by executive order. We're still fighting for that. The most important thing that I will tell you tonight, particularly if you're new to the group, we will not, as a practical matter, we will not see meaningful student loan cancellation from any of the stuff that you're seeing in the media right now. None of that stuff is going to lead to actual student loan cancellation broadly, unless and until we get that first thing, the constitutionally enshrined right of bankruptcy, returned to these loans. Whether you would ever or never file for bankruptcy is not important, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. Very few people should actually have to file when we get the right returned. But we've got to have that floor of leverage back on our side if we're going to see Joe Biden or the next president actually, not pretend, actually cancel federally owned student loans. So, man, there's a lot going on right now, guys. Couple of announcements. I should lead with this. We need 32 people to donate $20 or more this week. We would love to get this knocked out sooner rather than later, if at all possible. So please help. Our donations to us are very difficult. We don't have a $1 million budget and a PR staff, and we don't have millionaire, billionaire benefactors feeding us money. The only place that we get financial support from are typically distressed student loan borrowers. And as you can hopefully see, our budget is not big. We don't need much money to survive, fight, and win this battle. We've got over 1.4 million members, guys, with almost nobody giving donations. Even still, we can survive and thrive, but we cannot do it on nothing. So if you appreciate all that this group has done, all that we're doing, all that we're poised to get done, just please donate so I can shut up about it, dudes. I'm so tired of that. Big day tomorrow. We've got some very high-level meetings scheduled that I'll talk about maybe tomorrow after the meetings happen with whatever I can share. But we also have a pretty important national interview scheduled for 9 a.m. tomorrow. And again, I'll have more to say about that when it goes to press. I don't talk about stuff before it happens. So that's good. Maybe the most important thing, and this is sort of an action item for you, the Department of Education is accepting public comment tomorrow at what's called the negotiated rulemaking session. It hopefully isn't too late if you want to do a 4-minute presentation. It's a Zoom thing, basically. It's on the Department of Education's whatever infrastructure they have. It's a video Zoom live thing. I think it may not be too late for you to get a spot. My spot is at 2:20 p.m. tomorrow, Eastern time. One of our other members is speaking at 2:40. And again, one of our other members, again, is speaking around, I think, shortly after that. So we're going to have and I think Lisa's given her testimony tomorrow in the morning, if I'm not mistaken. So I think there may be still a few spots left if you want to have your say. The one thing I would say is if you want to do this, make these assholes feel your pain. We've been doing these for 18 long years, guys, and I've had it. I almost didn't do it this year because, I mean, at this point, the lending system is such a heinous, vicious national catastrophe. And the people at the Department of Education are such, I'm not saying they're all bad people, but there's no courage, there's no honesty, and there's no good faith happening on the other side of this lending program, guys. I think there are some good people at the Department of Education, but I think they lack the courage to tell the truth. And the truth is that this lending system is finished. It's done. The pandemic was the nail in the coffin. Before the pandemic, 58.9% of all borrowers were not making payments on their student loans. And even discounting for people who are in college or in their grace period, still 51%. So over half of everyone was not making payments on their student loans before the pandemic. That's going to go up by a lot. My best guess is that when they try and turn these loans back on, something like 75, 80, maybe even more percent of everyone will not resume paying on their loans. They're done. They're finished. And they should not pay. In fact, in my humble opinion, nobody should pay another dollar to do this unconstitutional, unconscionable loan scam. And to the younger people out there, what I'm saying may sound overly dramatic. I think to the older people out there, and most people with student loans are older, not younger. Most people with student loans are over 35, not under 35. I can only hope that you're finally starting to see the writing on the wall here. I think most of you are. These loans are unconstitutional. They are nationally threatening. Very few people will pay when the repayments resume. And it's going to be very difficult going forward, guys. We came close last session, but we were unable to get bankruptcy rights returned to these loans. I can talk about that a little bit. Quite frankly, we're firstly nonpartisan group, guys. We hate the Republicans. We hate the Democrats. But the Democrats really screwed us, guys. They had a great bill. They could have, bipartisan bill, would have passed with flying colors last session, would have returned bankruptcy rights to student loans. The very last minute, key senators like Elizabeth Warren, who taught bankruptcy law at Harvard, for gosh sakes, she went out of her way to not support the bill. She was suspiciously silent about the bill. And in fact, I saw her do things that looked to me exactly like someone trying to kill our bill. So guys, and particularly if you're new to the group, welcome. Glad you're here. We've been around for 18 years, guys. We've seen all the tricks, the traps, all the fakes, the slights, the smoke and mirrors. We've seen all of it again and again from the Department of Education, from the lenders, from the colleges, from that whole, we call it the student loan swamp. It is a rat's nest, a viper's nest, a swamp's den or something of dis, and malinformation. And we are in an info war, guys. And right now, 95% of all the media is propaganda, seeded by our opposition. Read Forbes magazine. And I guarantee you, the person who wrote the article at Forbes that you're reading, they come across as being really, they're trying to just tell the straight truth, still tell the straight story. That's nonsense. And I'm not just, the people at Forbes, most of the guys that write about student loans, they make money on student loans. The last thing these people want is for this lending program to die. The first thing they want is to perpetuate this unconstitutional, unconscionable lending scam. Now, Forbes is the worst, but it's throughout all the media. Really, almost all the media. Anytime you see a student loan expert, Mark Kantrowitz, and you'll see his name around a lot, he's a swamp creature. He has no intention of doing anything for the borrowers. He's made his living in the past from private lenders and others. He fights tooth and nail behind the scenes to keep this lending program going. You know why student loan cancellation didn't happen? Because guys like Mark Kantrowitz and guys like the writers at Forbes magazine, they didn't want it to happen. Nobody in Washington, D.C. wants student loan cancellation by executive order to happen. And I can explain that if you really want, but quite frankly, folks, I was going to keep this live stream fairly short tonight. One little funny thing, as I say, we're firstly nonpartisan group. Article out today where the Republicans vow that they are going to do everything to stop Joe Biden's SAVE program, which is a joke in the first place. None of the income-driven repayment programs, not income contingent repayment, not IBR, not pay-as-you-earn pay, not revised pay-as-you-earn, and not this newfangled to-be-introduced income-driven repayment plan they are calling SAVE, which is just yet another doomed to fail income-driven repayment plan. None of these IDRs are worth the paper they are written on, because the overwhelming majority of borrowers, many years of history have shown, the overwhelming majority, 90+% of the people trying for these things are disqualified out of the programs because the Department of Education, which has no desire or intentions of actually canceling any loans, they do everything possible to disqualify the overwhelming majority of people out of these programs. So no matter what Joe Biden's SAVE program advertises, it's a cruel joke. And the cruel, more cruel twist, ironic twist on Biden's cruel, twisted joke is that the Republicans are now vowing to stop this thing. They say they're going to bring it to court, and they're going to use the same tactic that they used to kill Joe Biden's lame loan cancellation. So student loan borrowers have no party, ladies and gentlemen. The Democrats betrayed us viciously last session. And by the way, after the Supreme Court thing, you don't see any Democrats mentioning bankruptcy and student loans in the same sentence. That's the Democrats. The Republicans are like, we're gonna fight to stop this thing because student loan borrowers are a bunch of deadbeats. And so the Democrats are terrible. The Republicans are worse than terrible. We have no party. Ladies and gentlemen, we have no party. It's the Wild West out there. I don't know which is worse. Is it the good cop or the bad cop? Like the guy who says he's your enemy, which is the Republicans, or the guy who says he's your friend, but actually when it gets time to prove that, they pull the rug out from under you. So we have no party, ladies and gentlemen. I just think it's hilarious that the Republicans are doubling down on wagging their finger and insulting and denigrating and alienating the 43 million federal student loan borrowers out in the country. You know, Pew Research 2020 found that 70% of people who had been to college, whether they graduated or not, 70% were either Republican or independent. And Trump's own appointee, Republican, Wayne Johnson, who ran the federal student loan program, said that 85% of all student loan borrowers, 85%, were never going to be able to repay their loans even before the pandemic. So that's 85% of 43 million people, more than half of whom are Republican or independent. So we're talking about something like 20 million people who might be inclined to vote Republican that the Republicans are jabbing in their eyeballs. You wonder what happened to the red wave, and you wonder why Trump lost the 2020 election? Student loans, particularly in states like Georgia and Michigan and Nevada, places where student loans exceed the entire state budget. Those are battleground states, by the way. I could go on there, many other states. You wonder what happened to the red wave in the midterm elections that were just passed last fall? Student loans happened. Same numbers. When there's 38 million people in the country losing sleep over their student loans, and 70% of them are Republican or independent, And the Republicans, every time you turn on the TV, are bashing the borrowers and trying to describe us as these young, liberal, elitist, entitled snowflakes, which we are not. Of course you're going to lose elections. You're going to lose a lot of elections, and this is only getting worse for the Republicans. So go figure, guys. We're in silly season, guys. You know, I am reminded of something I read years ago. It was from somebody who lived in the Soviet Union, like in the 1950s, when Stalin had firm control over the entire state apparatus, and just insane things were happening. Like they would demand that these farms produce these quotas of wheat, and these bureaucrats at the Kremlin, the fact is these farms weren't producing anything like what their quotas were stated as, but the farmers would say, yes, we produce that much wheat for the people. And the administrators would file these reports to Stalin or the Politburo and say, yes, the farmers are producing the required amount of wheat. And the lie just got repeated all the way up the chain. Everybody knew they were lying. Like the farmers knew they were lying. And the bureaucrats knew the farmers were lying to them. And the farmers knew the bureaucrats knew that they were lying to them. But they just repeated the lie all the way up to Stalin's desk. And that is the kind of nonsense that I think we're living through, guys. And I don't want to draw any starker conclusions to that, starker conclusions than that. But you just have to wonder, what is going on with our politics today, guys? I don't know. Literally, I've been studying the student loan issue for 18 years now. And even now, even I am kind of just, I almost don't know what to do anymore with the just massive wave of propaganda, misinformation, disinformation that is being thrown out of nearly every major media outlet. I don't know, guys. The one thing I do know is that the founding fathers called for uniform bankruptcy laws ahead of the power to declare war and raise an army in the Constitution. We've seen both Republicans and Democrats publicly call for the return of bankruptcy protections to student loans. Almost no one will publicly engage us in a meaningful debate opposing the return of bankruptcy rights to student loans as they exist for all their loans. It's our best, and I think probably our only shot at this point, guys. When we get bankruptcy rights back, they're going to have to cancel the loans, guys. They're going to have to. Otherwise, we'll see a wave of bankruptcy filings, the likes of which this nation has never before seen, going back and including the Great Depression. Bankruptcy is the easiest and only step forward that I can see to actually solve this problem, ladies and gentlemen. And don't count on the people in Washington, D.C. to do it for us. They've got to be pushed. Assuming our elections still have integrity, which pray to God that they do. And I don't know. I pray to God that they do. The politicians at least should have to listen to us, the voters. It's kind of the only power that we have, guys. So if you want to actually, not pretend, actually solve the student loan problem, dudes, you got to fight for bankruptcy. I don't care what your situation is. Whether you would ever or never file for bankruptcy does not matter. We got to fight for it, guys. We came close last session. And what we do, this group does, in fact, this is the only group that is actually fighting for the return of bankruptcy. Look at student debt crisis. You won't see them even mention bankruptcy. If they do mention bankruptcy, they say things like, oh, bankruptcy is horrible. We don't want bankruptcy. No, bankruptcy is a terrible thing to have to do. Same with the debt collective. It's nonsense, guys. These people know this problem, maybe not quite as well as I do, but they've been doing this for over a decade now. They know at least most of what I know. And what I know is what I've been saying all through this live stream and for the past many years. And that is that this all comes down to bankruptcy, guys. And as long as we don't have that right, we'll be begging Joe Biden or the next president forever to cancel loans. And what we'll get is the bullshit that we're seeing right now. I don't want to be on that roller coaster, guys. I don't want to be on that train. It's a bridge to nowhere. I hope you agree, because this is getting very serious, guys. The loans are going to be turned back on September 1st. And the debt collection industry is salivating. And quite frankly, it's hard to tell where the debt collection industry and some of the other groups out there, where the debt collection industry leaves off, and some of the other student advocacy groups out there begin. You know, the corruption goes very deep, guys. This group, I can tell you, is absolutely not corrupted. That's pretty much one of the only things. We have the truth and that fact going for us. The two things that we have. Without either of those things, we disappear. But we do got that going for us. And so hopefully the truth of what I'm saying is kind of coming through in the passion in my voice or something. I don't know. But guys, I'm just telling you, it's the Wild West out there. We're it. We are the people, and we're the only people who are going to solve this problem. So you can't unhear that. We are the veterans. So I'm looking for your comments on Facebook now. If I can't get to all your comments, let me just apologize. That does happen. Alan Bodenheimer says, I am corrupt, Alan. Sorry. Don't know what that means, Alan, but I hope that's not true, Alan. You have never struck me as corrupt. You know, I was on Twitter today, and a long-time supposed friend of ours, they were just, they started saying really suspicious things like, hey, the fresh start is the perfect way to get your loans out of bankruptcy. And they just kept kept pushing this fresh start thing. Guys, I'm telling you, fresh start is not a fresh start. It's like taking dirty laundry and throwing it in the dryer. And this person was saying, oh, no, you don't have to rehabilitate your loans in fresh start. No, you don't have to consolidate your loans. All it does is take your loans out of default. And that's just completely false. The Fresh Start program is a 1-year hiatus that gives you a reprieve from collections activities on the requirement that you ultimately have to rehabilitate your loans, consolidate your loans, otherwise rejigger your loans into good standing within that 1-year period. It is an incredibly dangerous thing. Rehabilitated loans, or even consolidating your loans with baked in fees, they require you to sign for a new, much larger loan. So if you're in default on a $50,000 loan and you go through this fresh start nonsense, you're going to wind up signing for a $100,000 brand new loan. And there's an 80% chance, 80% chance that you will default again. And so all of a sudden that $50,000 loan, you signed a new $100,000 loan, it defaults, more penalties, more fees. All of a sudden you've got a $150,000, $200,000 fucking unpayable monstrosity around your neck. So telling anybody to do this fresh start thing is very bad advice. And anybody that is banging the gong for this fresh start program, I'm sorry, but that's suspicious. And, you know, this person, I came to realize I actually didn't know this. I don't know this person. They're an anonymous person on Twitter. I looked at their past 6 months worth of posts, and they claim to be advocating for students, but all I see them doing is trying to push people into this fresh start program. That's very fucking suspicious. And so I point blank, I PM'd him. I go, hey, man, what's going on here? Who exactly are you? What's your real name? What is your interest here? And they refused to tell me their real name. I use my real name on Twitter. I got nothing to hide. And as just a point of common courtesy and a show of that you're not of the worst of bad faith, just a modicum of honor, I expect that when I ask people privately who they are, that they would at least dignify me with their real name. I've never been known to, bribe or blackmail people by virtue of the fact that I know their identity. So yeah, we see this nonsense all the time, guys. It's disinformation. And there is a very, I don't know about coordinated. I'm not a conspiracy guy. I don't say things that I can't prove. But there is many campaigns, or maybe one big campaign. I don't know, call it what you want. But there is a very large effort by the people who would perpetuate this loan scam to flood the zeitgeist right now with mis and disinformation and try to sell you on things that you really don't want to sign on. You do not want to sign your name on the dotted line and validate a horrible student loan that maybe it fell off your credit record years ago. You don't want to sign your name onto anything that would legitimize that debt. That's the stupidest thing in the world that you could possibly do. So just be careful, guys. You know, people are going to make their own decisions. I, for one, will never sign anything that any friend of the Department of Education or the Department of Education itself ever puts in front of me. I would find it, it's hard to imagine me ever signing anything that they put in front of me, unless it's acknowledgement of a receipt of an apology or something. No, those people are dirtbags. Those people are nothing but scammers. And 18 years of very thorough and diligent research have borne that out. So yeah, the media has been captured, guys. The media used to be halfway decent, like kind of what we would expect back in 2005, 6, 7. Then 2008, 9, 10 came, and the financial crisis. And there was huge consolidations. Many independent journalist places went out of business, literally out of business. Many others consolidated. But today, I can't even name a news source that I trust 100%. I would maybe say places like, I don't know, ProPublica seems to do good work. I can name individual reporters. You know, Matt Taibbi has always done a pretty fair job, I'd say. Anyways, Mo Takasik. There's a very short list, guys. But look at like legacy media, like Forbes is just forget about it, man. U.S. News and World Report, total propaganda. CNBC, total propaganda. So we get lucky in the media from time to time. You know, there are a few good people out there still, but it's very few and far between. So Christina Winton says 95% chance of default again with the Fresh Start program, possibly. Oh, you know, nobody can put odds on anything right now, Christina. All I can tell you is that many years of history have shown that rehabilitated loans default again at 4 times the default rate of average loans. So yeah, we're talking 80%. Alan Bodenheimer says, I was going to ask you about a Fresh Start, but it looks suspicious. Thanks for your feedback. Yeah, guys, no. Fresh Start, no. Fresh Start, no. I don't advise it to anyone. I don't give advice. People, you can do whatever you want. All I'm telling you is the best information that I can see and the best analysis that I can possibly do. And this Fresh Start is not a fresh start. It's like taking dirty laundry and throwing it in the dryer. It cancels not a speck of your student loan debt, and all the same risks and penalties are still waiting for you on the other side. So I have nothing good to say about it, everything bad to say about it. Anybody saying otherwise, I'm sorry, but either they haven't read the guidance carefully, or they're literally just trying to sell you on something and they're trying to make money or something. They've got nefarious motives. Those people are everywhere on Twitter and probably quite a few on Facebook as well. So be careful, guys. It's the Wild West out there. There's not. We're all we got, guys. We are normal human beings doing the best research we can possibly do, telling the truth. We're the only thing that I can think of that at least won't steer you wrong. And guys, I wish it wasn't true. If and when I see good media, I point it out. But that's 1 out of 15 or 20 media pieces that I see. Truly, guys. So yeah, 95%. I wouldn't say 95% redefault rate on loan rehabilitations, but I would definitely say 80%. And I think National Consumer Law Center actually verified that a few years ago. But Moody's bond rating agency, they were rating federally defaulted student loan tranches. Moody's was rating student loan tranches of federally guaranteed student loan bundles that back in the old days, they used to slice and dice and combine and bundle federal student loans and sell them on Wall Street. Well, some of those loans were rehabilitated loans. In other words, loans that had defaulted, but then the borrower paid and paid and paid and paid through the nose, signed for a new, much larger loan, which is what you do when you rehabilitate your loan. And then they sold that loan to Wall Street. Well, Moody's, and I hope they have no reason to lie. Maybe they do. But Moody's said that the default rate for these rehabilitated loans 4 times higher than the average default rate for student loans. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the average default rate for student loans today is way greater than 40%. So it's impossible to be 4 times higher than 40% because that's 160%. So you might be right, Christine. It might be 95%. I don't know. But I think 80% is a pretty good conservative estimate for what your chances are of defaulting again on your student loans if you rehabilitate your loans. Guys, the lending system's done. I mean, at what point do you just throw up your hands and say, fuck you? No more. The lending system is done. Very few people are going to resume paying. Quite frankly, no one should ever repay another dollar on their federally owned student loans. Lending systems fail from time to time. And the founding fathers are on our side on this, guys. You know, conservative Grover Norquist, he's an asshole, but he said something that I thought was funny. He said, you know, government should be small enough so that if you had to, you could take it to the bath and drown it in the tub. Right? Nobody likes big government. Well, maybe some people do. But that's what conservatives always say. And that's something novel that Grover Norquist said. He's the guy who makes all Republicans in Congress sign the no tax pledge. Anyways. The federal student loan program should have been taken to the bath and drowned in the tub at least 10 years ago, guys. Longer than that, quite frankly. Probably around 2008, I would say. Federal student loan program should have been taken to the bath and drowned in the tub. That didn't happen. The bad politics in Washington, D.C. from both the Democrats and the Republicans have perpetuated this catastrophe upon the citizens. You know, the founders said when the citizens fear the government, that's tyranny. And that's what's going on right now, guys. The government doesn't fear us. We fear the government. And we shouldn't, because there's true strength in numbers, dudes. And I'm here to tell you that the large majority of all student loan borrowers are done. They're done. They're not going to resume paying when they turn the loans back on. They're just not. Even before the pandemic, as I said, 58.9% of all borrowers, that's nearly 3 in 5 borrowers, were not paying on their student loans. And even discounting for people in college in their grace, still talking about over half of borrowers were not paying on their student loans even before the pandemic. So dudes, we got this. There's strength in numbers. And if we the people can't put down this disgusting, perverted, unconstitutional lending racket, then we as a country are in very deep trouble. Because remember, guys, these are student loans we're talking about. These are not nuclear launch codes. This is not a foreign war. This is not. Student loans should have never become a big deal. Period. These are student fucking loans we're talking about. So come on, dudes. Find a spine. Don't wait and watch and worry and wag your finger and think that anybody else on this group is going to pull your weight for you. It won't happen. Don't walk around like a dog with your tail in between your legs, afraid of the fucking Department of Education and their freaking Goombas, their freaking armchair warriors trying to steal unearned wealth from you. Fuck those people. Pardon my French. Grow a spine. Grow a pair. And if you ever do resume repaying on your student loans, you're going to be in the very small minority, guys, because this thing is done. So you heard it here first. Christina also says, good afternoon, all. Going to be presenting at the hearing tomorrow at the NEGREG session. Good. And definitely will be saying that they need to stop opposing bankruptcy and need rights back, restore our rights, and cancel the current student loans that exist as predatory. Perfect, Christine. I look forward to your testimony. I'm talking at 2:20 p.m. I think one of our other members is talking at 2:40 p.m. I think, Christina, I think you're talking like right around then. So I'll be really interested. And by the way, I'm going to post the link to that NEGREG session tomorrow. So if you want to make your own comments, do that. It will help. We need you in this fight. And don't be afraid of these fucking people. We own this lending system, guys. They don't own us. We are the people, and we cannot be stopped. We are way too big to fail. And make them feel your pain. And if you want encouragement, watch my testimony at 2:20. I have no idea what I'm going to say, but I can guarantee you I'm going to pull no punches. And grab some courage from me if you need to. Okay, guys, I'm sorry. I can't get to all your comments. I've gone way, way, way over tonight. But I hope, particularly if you're new to the group, I hope that the truth of what I'm saying is kind of sunk in with you. I hope that you're becoming less afraid of this ridiculous Beltway paper tiger that is trying to sound so ominous and scary. It's not scary. It's not ominous. It's a failed lending scam that the federal government tried to pull on the people. It's failed. It will not succeed. The only way it can succeed is if you pay your hard-earned money into it. Don't do that. In my humble opinion, it's not only unwise, it's unpatriotic to feed this beast. So, be that what it may, you make your own, you draw your own conclusions, you do whatever you want. But we need you fighting, guys. And if you care about this problem, then you will help us fight, because it is a very real fight, and it is going to get very ugly coming in the weeks and month to come. You know, interest starts accruing September. Payments supposedly resume October. So not a lot of time to work with, the guys. And we need you fighting with us on our side. The easiest thing you can do, by the way, go to our website. Do 2 weeks worth of our daily actions. We need you. We need you to do those things. The least you can do. I will post a link in the comments below, or maybe someone else can, on how to register for the public comment session tomorrow, Department of Education. If you have 4 minutes of piss and vinegar in you, strongly recommend you do it. I'll post the link. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Fight, fight, fight. We got this. There's no way we can fail when you help. So good luck. Godspeed. God bless everyone.